मैं इन नोट्स को 5 मिनट के लिए बंद करता हूँ और मैं आपसे सवाल पूछता हूँ इस डिवोर्स के बारे में, राइट? बिकॉज नाउ यू आर अ लेजेंडरी डिवोर्स लॉयर नाउ. 2-3 सवाल है यार, और वो सबसे पहला सवाल तो ये है कि आपका खुद का विश्वास कितना ज़्यादा उठा है इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफ मैरिज से? क्योंकि in a very realistic scenario, most people in this country will see 4 or 5 marriages. They will see their parents' marriage, their grandparents' marriage, their own marriage, their kids' marriage. If they're lucky, their grandparents, मतलब grandkids' marriage, right? आसपास के रिश्तेदारों के अलग मैं काउंट नहीं कर रहा, अपने अपने डायरेक्ट ब्लड के अंदर आप देखते हो, आपका एक्सपीरियंस होता है, चाहे लड़ाई हो, झगड़ा हो, कोई आदमी औरतों को मारते हैं, कोई औरतें आदमियों को टॉर्चर करती हैं, जो भी कुछ होता है. But we don't have a big sample size of marriages the way you do. And you have a very clinical sample size. And you deal with many, many people who are severely aggrieved, right? उस केस में आपका विश्वास मैरिटल इंस्टीट्यूशन में कितना उठ चुका है, अभी भी बरकरार है? आपने अपनी आंखों के सामने शादियां टूटती टूटती बनती हुई देखी हैं? अगर हैं तो कोई एग्जांपल्स हैं ऑफ. सो लेट मी rephrase this. One, your trust in the institution of marriage. Second, the worst cases of divorce that you've had to handle where the man was suicidal or the woman was suicidal or like something worse, and the best cases where the marriage patched up.
Very heavy question, yeah, Vinam. I am not married, never been married, and to a certain extent, I do feel that it's very difficult for me to get married, understanding what I have seen. Right, I remember in an earlier office that I used to work with, one of the ladies over there, I think of her as an aunt, right? Very close to her. She never got married, and the reason that she gave for never getting married was that around the time that she was completing her law, her friend was tortured so much in her marriage, in her very new marriage. They were all young. Very new marriage, the friend was tortured so much, she committed suicide. And this senior of mine, she saw that and she resolved to never get married. Right? It was kind of a decision to never get married. And she's had a very good life, as a single lady. She's a good practice, travels the world, very happy. I would call her one of the more content women that I've met in my life. My own thoughts, one aspect is, to what extent is the institution of marriage good for you as an individual? My personal take on this is, marriage was always a bad deal for women, at least in India. The society, the structure, the duties.
Why is that? If the women came from a slightly lower socioeconomic class, they were guaranteed a stable income, a big house, food, the ability to stay inside and nurture their kids, a cushioned life, especially if they came from, relative poverty compared to the groom.
Things like Dahej, things like Sati, things like domestic abuse. We cannot lose sight of these things.
Correct.
They were always a bad deal for women, as a structure. What has happened in the past few decades is that as bad of a deal as it was for women, now the laws have made it a bad deal for men. So society-wise, it's a bad deal for women. Legal-wise, I believe it's a bad deal for men, right? Whichever way you want to look at it. Not that I'm saying that every man is vulnerable. There are a lot of men who, because of the structure of the legal system, if you know what you want to go for, you don't really suffer much, right? A lot of husbands ask me, what can I do to prevent false allegations? I say that there's not much you can do to prevent false allegations on you. There's no proof as such that you can collect. Or, a lot of people say, oh, what if I collect call recordings? Useless. We can go into that later. A lot of people say, what if I put all my money into a trust? Useless. We can go into the details, later. But what I tell them is, it's a two-part answer. I tell them, one, there is not much that you can do to, prevent false allegations. However, what is going to be the actual impact of those false allegations? It's not that you're going to be thrown to the gallows. It's not that you're going to spend several years in jail. It's not that you're going to lose half of your net worth. It's a very common misconception in this country, but that's actually not the case. A lot of bad things do happen, and they are very bad. but it's not as bad as a lot of times we construct it in our head. Okay. So in my mind, I simply do not feel that, and especially in India, I feel that for a man, and it depends, right? I would say in my very close friend circle, funnily enough, it's all the professionals and the entrepreneurs who have not gotten married.
Right.
And every government servant has gotten married.
Yeah.
So and you know, and all of these friends obviously consult me. They talk to me and they ask me, can I do something safeguard? I'm like, bhai, your wife earns more than you, so you don't need to worry.
Yeah, in fact, you should be the one asking for a divorce. So,
Perhaps, yeah. So you know, it depends, right? What kind of a situation you are in. For some people, yes, it becomes a far worse deal in comparison to other people.